Hi everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. Apologies, we're running a couple of minutes late. Technology was not on our side, so hopefully we didn't leave you waiting too long. So my name's Hannah Mollison, I'm the Sales Director here at Workwell Outsourcing, and I'm really pleased to be presenting this webinar today on how to crack contract. It's easier than you think. This webinar is part of our educational series from the Workwell Outsourcing Academy. The Workwell Outsourcing Academy is specifically designed for recruitment agencies to support their growth, provide value, and industry insights. All of the webinars that we've recorded so far and podcasts are available on Spotify and YouTube, so if you want to catch up on them, you can find them all there. So for those of you that don't know, the Workwell Group are the UK's biggest service provider for recruitment agencies. From funding, tech, outsourcing to international EOR and UK umbrella. Our goal is to enable agencies to focus on their core business of recruitment while we handle all of the operational functions. Today is the first in a three-part series where we are collaborating with Coral to demystify contract recruitment and give you the tools to not only introduce contract to your business, but also create a thriving contract desk. So I'm joined today by Kate Cross. Kate, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Hannah. Nice to be here.
How are you today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. Glad we got over those technical glitches and we
got there in the end.
Got them in the end.
Yeah, we did. Kate has a wealth of experience with over 17 years in recruitment and finance, so she knows what it takes to achieve success. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me today, Kate. I'm really pleased to have you here and for the value that you're going to add, and I'm really looking forward to this three-part series that we're going to be delivering. I think a good starting point would be for you to tell me a little bit more about yourself, but also about Coral and how it came to be.
Of course. So nice to meet everyone. So Hannah, I'm going to show my age now. It's actually 22 years in recruitment. So,
wow.
Yeah. So started off as a contract recruiter, a white collar construction, running a desk for a company that is now part of the Randstad CPE group. That is where the Coral team actually met. So Alice she's our people of director and she's our lead coach. She was running their training and development division, and Simon was running their flagship contract division in London. So we came together back in the early 2000s, and then we sort of went off to do our separate things. We set up Harvey Jacob, 100% contract business, and I continue to run that as CEO. And Alice went off to set up a training and development company and coaching company. And earlier this year, we decided that after 17 years of doing our own thing, we wanted to come together as a team and to be able to go and really give back to the industry that has served us so well for over 20 years each. And we've created a series of programs, and the one that we're talking about today is how to crack contracts. It's easier than you think. And Alice is going to later be sharing the top traits of what makes a really good contract biller in your business. And then Simon, who is still running a $500,000 desk, is going to be available for really get inside the head of what it takes to be a big biller consistently for over 20 years. So that's us.
Lovely. And also Simon is your husband, isn't he?
He is. Yes, he is. We might need to do a program shortly on how to stay married and do contract recruitment.
Yeah. Well, I've said to you before, I'm a real big fan of your LinkedIn posts, and I know you've mentioned stuff about your personal journey on LinkedIn and stuff. So if anyone doesn't follow Kate on LinkedIn yet, please do.
Oh yes, we do. I think it's really important. It's a competitive and it is a tough industry, and I think by leaders and coaches and founders sharing their vulnerabilities online, it really just gives that, we can all have those weeks and days when it just feels tough, and particularly off the back end of what's been a bit of a challenging couple of years, without a doubt. It's just reassuring for younger businesses, and that was really the why behind Coral. It was to help younger businesses navigate some of the challenges that we've done.
Yeah, it has been a tough year, hasn't it? Shall I share my screen then? Yeah. Let's do that. Can you see that?
I can.
Perfect. How is that? There we go. So here we have Simon, yourself, and Alice.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So Simon is really the sort of the man on the ground. He's available. He runs weekly sales clinics with our clients. So he's not, I think what's great about Coral is we're not in an ivory tower coaching, we're still doing it. And then Alice is your real core recruitment trainer. And then I'm actually an exec coach and accountability coach as well. So that's the one that makes it all happen with our clients.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So why do you think building contract revenue is such a hot topic at the moment?
Well, I think, and as you quite rightly said, it has been tough. It's been a tough market, and we've been. When I first got back into recruitment back in 2002, and Simon will tell the same story. Our group MD at the time said, "Listen, because I was like, I want to be a perm recruiter. It's seen as the sort of more glamorous end of the recruitment market." And he said to me, honestly, the most resilient recruiters, the most consistent recruiters, and the most consistent businesses are contract recruiters and businesses. And it's because when there's a downturn, contract remains steady. If a client's going to hire, they're more likely to bring in someone on a contract basis because they don't have to take the commitment of a full-time salary. So whatever the market is doing, contract remains steady. And I would say, Hannah, some of our biggest years in margin have been those. We have just closed off a phenomenal year, and in 2009, which was really dark, deep in the midst of that credit crunch recession, we had our biggest year. So I think the reason it's such a hot topic is perm buyers businesses have been really feeling the pain of spiky revenue over the last couple of years. And also for those that haven't, that are more ambitious, you know, if you've got a contract revenue stream in your business, you've got a more sellable, scalable asset, and you're end to end with your clients. So I mean, that's really why we created this, and to be able to enable those perm-based businesses that they may not want to grow out huge contract divisions, they may, but to really help them identify within their current base what they've already got, what they can do better. And that's what we're going to chat a little bit today, is that discover sort of phase of what we would do in our program, is really shifting your mindset and your view as to how you can really maximize contract revenue within your business. And we're going to debunk a few of the myths. I know you're going to share your insight on why and how you would use an outsourced partner.
Yeah, and when you say mindset, do you think a lot of it does come down to mindset?
Yeah, I think it does. I think there's a bit of a myth that contract is a completely different, this dark art, this beast. You know, a lot of permanent recruiters say to me, I really want to do it, but I just don't know how. And what we've done is we've really broken it down and made it really simple. I personally don't think I think really good contract recruiters can do perm, and I think really good perm recruiters can do contract. I think the key thing here is really good recruiters and honing your skills and asking the right questions to the right people and looking for those opportunities. But I do appreciate that it can seem a bit of a myth, and that's what
do you think an element of it might be kind of the unknown for perm recruitment?
I think so, and I think there is a little bit. There's a lot of perm recruiters that pick up incidental contract vacancies and they fill them, but it's really learning how to negotiate rates properly. It's how you track your candidates, and honestly, and this is why I'm really glad to be running these series of webinars with you. It's like, how do I place them? What are all the logistics of payrolling temp? How do I fund it? That can seem like quite a logistical piece to come over, and then everyone sort of goes, oh, do you know, I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing in my perm business, and actually, you know, worrying about taking their focus off their perm business, which you don't want to do. And that's what we've sort of said, you really don't have to. It's an extension of, and should be an extension of what you're doing rather than something completely different.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that my screen is sharing the DNA slide right now. Is that?
It is, yeah.
Great. Okay. So could you explain a bit more about the DNA process?
Yeah, so what we've done is it's a 6-week process that we've broken down into 3 stages. And so DNA they are actually our company values as well. So we go and we discover what our clients need, we nurture our clients to get them to where they want to be, and then we really activate them on into the next phase. So it runs through everything that we do at Coral. So in the discover phase of contract DNA, it's about going into your perm client base, it's looking at the opportunities in your market and discovering the contract opportunities in your permanent business and sector. And at the end of that 2 weeks, you will have been able to identify your ideal contract business profile. So the roles that you're going to recruit, the clients you're going to recruit them for, where your candidates are, and how to calculate the margin. And then the next phase is we go into a nurture stage. So over the next 2 weeks, start building out your contract and candidate network, start building your contract business profile, so your benchmarks and your conversion rates. And then the activate is to develop the habits and mindset of a great contract recruiter. But really what you do at the beginning is in discovery is you come out of a 2-week process with your contract DNA. So what does a contract role and candidate look like for you in your business? Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. And so I guess if people are thinking of building a contract desk or adding contract into their business, how do they get started with it? What is the starting point? I guess that's where Coral comes in, doesn't it?
No, that's a really good one. Have you got the next slide, Hannah?
Yes.
I know for those that are listening, they're watching but listening later, we can provide all these slides. So if we go into
I'm going to stop.
the next one. So what we really encourage you to do is just look at your perm business through a contract lens. So then if we go down onto the next slide, which is the client 10-4.
Yep.
There we go. So what we ask people to do is speak to 10 of your best clients, and if there's more than one of you in your business, you could, if there's 10 consultants in your business, 2 consultants, 5, you can get all of your consultants to do this. So speak to 10 of your best clients. This isn't a new business exercise, it's not a cold call, it's a call to an existing client, and ask them, and this is really important, if you ask a client, do you use contract, the chances are you will get a no. And obviously we know in sales and recruitment we don't want to be asking closed questions. So the best way to find out about contract in your market is to speak to a really warm client and ask them, when do you use contract and why would you use contract? So is it strategic, i.e. that's part of your hiring process? Is it reactive? So someone goes off, hands a notice in, goes off on long-term sick leave, goes off on mat leave, or is it workflow, end of year, you've won a new project and you haven't got the permanent staff facility in? And if they still say no, I think it's really key at this question to ask, well, what happens when you get someone go off on unexpected sick leave? What happens when you get someone handing in their notice unexpectedly and you've just had a big project drop? And then, so, okay, and what types of roles would they tend to be? And then who supplies you? It's really important, like we all should know who our competitors are, but what you're doing is really starting to build a high-level market map at the minute. So you're finding out if, when and how your clients use contract, what type of roles, which would then be vacancies for you later down the line, tend to be contract, who supplies them, so who are the big players, and you're going to and how many contract staff did you engage this year? And if they still say don't, you know, you can ask who. Quite often in contract, your perm point of contract, in contract recruitment, the hiring manager is the first point of contact. So HR or business leads may well very much let their hiring managers go to their favoured contract recruiters. So we, Harvey Jacobs, quite a small agency, that's our recruitment agency, and we quite often work with clients who have massive PSLs and in place, but because their hiring managers want to do reactive hires, they're still allowed to use agencies outside of that. So it's a really good way into clients that typically the doors might be shut to you later down the line. So and then we provide in the course that we do, there's a tracker so you can collate all this information, so you're starting to build out in your existing business where the contract opportunities might be with your client.
Yeah, so I guess it's asking those probing questions, isn't it? And also getting your client thinking as well.
And we actually, I think on the next slide, this is quite a fun slide. We say, don't think of it as a separate call, think of it as a call extension. So you're phoning, or you should be phoning your clients anyway. Why not ask them a few more questions when you're on the phone and identify if there's contract opportunities within your client base? Yeah, that is the starting point. And then the next piece is to go and have a look at your permanent candidate base. So that's the slide after the candidate 10-4. There we go. So what you've done is you've spoken to 10 of your best clients, you've collated all that information, and then go and speak to 10 of your best candidates. And we suggest PAM candidates, nice warm candidates that you've either placed, you're working with at the minute, you've placed several times, or you may not have placed, but over the years you've built up a really good relationship with this candidate again, so they're happy to get on the phone and share market information with you. And the questions that we would suggest that you ask was, have you ever been offered or considered contract work yourself? And if so, which agency phoned you for it, and which client and which role? And you'll find with candidates that have done contract work or considering, they're happy to share that information. Perm, it's very secretive. They don't want their company to know they're moving. They don't want the market to know they're moving. But with contractors, they're happy to share information with you. And if you've got permanent candidates that would consider contract, they're quite open to discussing that with you. And if they say, well, we don't, we say, well, who in the business that you're currently in, are there contractors working in the department you're in, or in divisions that So it's looking at your perm business with a 360 lens and looking not just for immediate vacancies, but a real world view on your candidate and client's ecosystem to see where the opportunities are. And then really important, who recruits them. And you may very well find if you're working at senior or mid to senior management level in your permers, they may turn around to you and say, well, do you know what, I actually am responsible for hiring contracts in the business, which is just awesome, because then you found yourself a contract hiring manager within your current candidate base. And again, who supplies them? Because what we do with that information is then we move into a scenario when you can go out to market and start to really market map across your market to find contract opportunities. And again, we've got a handout which I'm happy to share with anybody that's been on the webinar or listening to the recording later that go along with these. So there's some really actionable stuff that you can do. Yeah, we suggest half an hour a day out of your currently what you're doing, speaking to your clients and candidates. Just dedicate 30 minutes a day, and there's an opportunity to really build out a really good foundation for a contract desk in your business from what you've already got.
Yeah, definitely. And in your experience, Kate, when speaking with contractors that are, or not contractors currently, should I say, those in perm roles, are they open to contracting? Is it a bit of a, if they've not done it before, are they maybe a bit apprehensive, or is it an easy conversation?
It's generally a no. I'm an out and out perm candidate, and that's just not something I consider. You'll get quite senior level candidates that want to maybe concentrate on, they may be doing a house project, or they've got a parent that needs looking after, or they've got a young family, and they'll say, actually, I'm happy to contract for a few months because I don't want the commitment necessarily of a permanent role. It has been slow out there, so you've got some really good talent on the market at the minute that would be open to considering contract to get them back into a more senior role. I've got a client we're working with at the moment. They're in engineering, and what they're doing with, if they've got senior in their exec team, if they've got senior hires that didn't make the final cuts, they're suggesting interim roles. And what clients then get is these really high level candidates with all this experience, and they're getting that into that business at a relatively low cost and low risk to their business. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's just about having lots of conversations and asking the right questions with the relevant people, whether they be candidates or whether it be end client.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a client at the minute, and I just want to stress that this can be, we are running this program with a solopreneur, and we're also working with a 20 headcount permanent business, because what we do is create what's right for your business. And actually, the chap that we're working with, solopreneur, is like, literally, I didn't realize how off the boil I got with my BD. I've been doing it a week, and I've pulled up 6 permanent vacancies and a contract vacancy. So actually, by encouraging you to go out and speak to your permanent base and up your activity levels, your perm business is going to thrive off the back of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just going to move on to the next slide.
I think, Hannah, it'd be really good actually to loop back, because I think a real starting block can be what, that there's this myths around, it's too much, it's going to take my perm business. I think that's just described there, the last thing it's going to do is take your eye off your perm business. But I think, you know, what I say to clients that are coming to us that have never done temp before, you know, if I think way back when we set our contract business up 17 years ago, I think there was 1 or 2 back office suppliers and you had to go full back office, or you had to go, like, you literally had to have enough money in your permanent business to fund your payroll. And I think what's so amazing is that, you know, people can come to companies like Workwell now. And I think one of the reasons that I particularly like about Workwell is, if I think you supply, it's like an end to end, isn't it? Can you just break it down to, yeah, always better.
Yeah.
You can do you better than I can.
Yeah, so at Workwell, we look after agencies, whatever stage of their journey they're on, I guess. So from startup, we help startups with actually forming their company with Companies House. We help them with compliance. You know, the thing about startups, 9 times out of 10, in our experience, quite often it's high performing or top billers within agencies that want to go out and do it themselves. So they are really good at the core function of recruitment. But when it comes to kind of the back office, that can be really overwhelming for them. And actually, if you've not got experience in that, understandably it would be, because we're just used to kind of picking up the phones and speaking to people, aren't we? So and just trying to get deals over the line, not necessarily the operational. So I think the key things that we try and help and encourage agencies to do is, first of all, think about how you're going to fund. So are you going to self-fund? There's various different funding models available for recruitment agencies. For startups, we would recommend 100% funding. So that means that the agency gets their margin paid to them weekly or monthly, whatever the pay frequency might be, and also the workers get paid weekly. So that money can go back into the recruitment business. They can invest it in whatever they want to invest it in, and also their workers are getting paid weekly. The other thing that is important and that we try and help with is thinking about the middle and back office. As I said, they're very good at the core recruitment side of things, but in terms of processing payroll, so pay and bill, for example, is a really complex process if you're not familiar with it and you're not used to it, and that can take up a lot of time, which could be spent doing the I guess the good stuff in a way, picking up the phones and speaking to people and getting stuff across the line. So thinking about that now, with our 100% funding model, we process the pay and bill, we do the credit control, so we pretty much take care of all of that for agencies. Now, the 100% funding model, when an agency gets to a certain size, or a certain turnover, should I say, the way that the fee is charged is not necessarily suitable for agencies. So what we do is, let's say an agency reaches a turnover of, I don't know, 3 or 4 million. It's not necessarily going to be the best option for them. We will say to them, we'll go to market and we'll look for a different funding line for you. So we have relationships with all of the big banks, and we'll look for the best funding line depending on the sector of the agency and the agency itself. So we'll find a funding line for them. We will keep the back office, so the pay and bill and the credit control, but obviously it's a much more I guess price efficient way of doing things once they reach a certain size. But that 100% funding at the start, I think, is so important for agencies to be able to focus on their revenue generating activity. But when they get to a certain size and, you know, the agency is more established, they don't necessarily need that 100% funding line. So that's why we try and farm agencies over to our complete back office. So that we don't lose customers. We don't want to lose customers. We want to grow with agencies. We want to be their partner as they grow and be there with them every step of the way. So yeah, that's why that's our model, and that's
what I love most about Workwell, Hannah, is because we've been as an agency, so as a coaching firm, obviously we are very much about core recruitment practice. But what I love about Workwell is that, you know, we started 100% funded back in 2007, and then about 5 years into our journey, we went, well, hang on a minute, we sort of reached the numbers that you were speaking about, and then we went, well, surely there's a better way to do this. And at the time, these lovely solutions that you're talking about, they just didn't exist. So we went with funding line, and then I personally, because I come from an ops and finance background, I had that capability within our business to be able to set that process up. But it's not the most useful time if you've got a fee billing director sat there running a back office when you can outsource that really effectively elsewhere. And that's what I think is so great. So you're not saying it's 100% funded, keep you small. It's like, we'll grow with you, and we'll offer you different solutions along the way. I just think that's brilliant. I wish it existed way back when.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, you know, the looking at the models that we have, and being able to farm our customers or our agency partners to the service line that's best for them, it's something that it did happen over time. It's not something that happened overnight. So, you know, workwear outsourcing, we in order to provide the back office, we had to acquire another company in order to provide that service. So it's something that we looked at, what are we doing, why are we losing customers, and how can we prevent that from happening? Yeah.
And I think that is exactly what we're talking about with contract recruitment here, Hannah. It's like, don't lose your contract opportunities because you're not having the conversations that we've spoken about. It's all about keeping your client in your ecosystem, isn't it? So whether as an outsourcing partner or recruitment partner, you don't want your clients to be going to, like, eventually our back office supplier lost us because that solution wasn't there for us to grow with them. Yeah. And likewise, you don't want your permanent, like possibly your permanent candidates or your hiring managers, and they're using other agencies to supply business that you could be fulfilling yourself. So it's very aligned actually when we
am I still sharing my screen? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, great. One second. Okay, so can you see I've moved on screens or not? Has that moved on?
Contracting formula, which is what I've spoken through today. So you've got the client piece that we spoke about, the candidate piece, and then what you will do is you collate that data, and then you've got the CV mining tool. And what we did is, because it's quite a lot, it gets a bit slide heavy on a webinar, Hannah. So what we've done is we've created 5, I don't know why, 5-minute free, it's a 3-part 5-minute free mini series. I don't know who decided to do 3s and 5s frees all of that, but actually we can give that. So for anybody that wants to come on and do that, and actually we've done a sort of an ultimate checklist that really highlights what your back office can do for you and what a funder will do. So I'm happy to pass that over as well for anybody that's interested.
Okay, great, thank you. 1 second, I'm just going to go to my next slide. Okay, so I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen now, as that's the end of the slides. So I think kind of my key takeaways from having a chat with you, Kate, is just having conversations with people. Yeah. Obviously, using the 10-4 method. I didn't realise until I saw the last slide that the 10-4 method was applicable to clients and candidates. I thought it was just the candidates. So
no, about having really good conversations across your marketplace, Hannah, and just gathering information. I think contract recruiters are really good hunters of information, so you're not waiting for vacancies and then filling them with candidates. You're going out and really getting across your market.
Yeah, I also think as well that if you're ever speaking to a customer or a candidate, like, it's never a wasted conversation. You're still building rapport. You're still looking at ways you can help them, assist them. So having conversations are a worthwhile thing anyway, regardless of the fact that you're trying to kind of ascertain information.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it just positions you in any, depending whatever sector you're in, if you're asking really intelligent questions of your clients and candidates, you're positioning yourself as a real voice of authority and expert in your space.
Yeah. So just to reiterate then, for anyone that's attending this webinar or listening to it via podcast, if you would like to get access to the free video series that Kate mentioned, you can either reach out to myself or Kate on LinkedIn, or there will be a follow-up email to this webinar. So you can reply to myself on the email, and Kate or someone at Coral will share those with you.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I hope that, and any questions at all that's come off the back, again, just get in touch. Happy to answer anything. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kate. Again, sorry everybody for the slight delay in starting, but I hope it's been useful. And as Kate says, any questions at all, please do reach out to us. So this is the first in the series. The same time next week, I will be on with Carol, and we will be discussing the traits of top contract billers. And then the following week, I'll be on with Simon, and we'll look at his journey to getting to where he's got today. So that should be a really interesting conversation. Is there anything that you would like to add, Kate?
No, Hannah, I think you've just wrapped it up all there. And I think it's the last thing that I would say is like, don't let logistics or mindset hold you back from starting your contract. You've got some amazing outsource partners in Hannah and the Workwell team, and that is not, even if you're recruiting into global markets, the facilities are there to do that. And don't get in your own way. There's so much opportunity out there to be had.
And I would encourage anyone that is thinking of going into contract but isn't sure where to start, if you found this even slightly useful, or you still maybe feel like you have more questions, get in touch with Kate. Look at doing one of Coral's courses in the new year, because I think it's a really nice, it's almost like a network as well, isn't it?
And that's the nice thing when we do it. You're running a small cohort, so you're not going to be polarized on your own. For lots of small businesses to be able to be doing it across sections and with other leaders, you're all coming up against the same stuff at the same time. So yeah, it is about building community at the same time. You're absolutely right.
That's it. Lovely. Well, thanks so much, Kate. Thanks everybody for listening, and look forward to seeing you all at our next one.
See you soon. Thanks, Hannah.
Bye. Bye.